In the hunter exams, Killua kills someone and everyone becomes a hunter because of it. But what if Illumi's manipulation didn't work on Killua and Killua decided to just fight Illumi or let him win without him being affected, of course? What if the hunter exams were not disturbed? What if they all actually got to fight one another? Who would have lost and win? Now, how the hunter exams tournament works, if you lose the fight, you get another chance to fight. But if you won, then you become a hunter. The hunters with more potential get more chances to fight, while the ones with less potential get less fights. Which is a bit funny because this means canonically, Paco had more potential than Leorio, and his potential was equal to that of Kurapika's. Now, I think Netero was lying a bit when he said that. I think he calculated the potential they possibly have with the potential they have already reached, which is why despite both of them having the same potential, Gon has more opportunities to fight than Killua. So who would lose this tournament? Let's start with the obvious fight. Gon would get destroyed in his fight with Hanzo if Hanzo didn't give him the win. But in this universe, Hanzo doesn't care, and since Hanzo is stronger and faster than Gon, he takes the win. Round 2, Paco vs Gon. This is interesting because Paco had only one singular fight before this against a semi-normal guy, and this semi-normal guy was able to dodge his arrow. And yeah, Paco still did get him, as his arrow still cut him and poisoned him, but he still semi-dodged that attack. Now, if Gon hypothetically got hit with this arrow, he would be done for. But if this semi-normal guy can do it, then Gon, a kid with heightened senses and can see very far away, he would be able to dodge them easily, unless Paco finds a way to get him off guard. As when he was hunting Hisoka, Jiraiya got to poison Gon with a pin when he wasn't on guard, but Paco would very much struggle when his opponent is incredibly fast and can dodge all of his arrows. So Paco would lose and Gon would win easily to mid difficulty. Kurapika vs Hisoka. We don't have to discuss much, but Hisoka would destroy him. But I think the reason why in the canon series he let Kurapika win was because he maybe knew that Kurapika was a Kurta or a specialist, and he probably sensed his nin in the tower when his eyes turned red. But back to the fighting. He would just want to test him out. He would win in the span of a second, or would at least see what Kurapika can do for the time being. But he would still win no matter what. So Kurapika loses. Kurapika vs Bodoro. Bodoro is a featless character. He has no fights, but we do know he is a martial artist. But Kurapika is depicted as a character who is highly intelligent, which is one of those reasons is why he was seen as worthy to take the exam by Kiriko's daughter. So he probably studied martial arts, which is why he was confident against that one big buff guy in the third phase. So how would it go? Kurapika is an equal this time with Leorio without his eyes turning red. So if Kurapika's eyes were to turn red because of rage and desperation, he would win against Bodoro easily, as it would amp his strength, as shown in the third phase. But if they weren't, Bodoro would still struggle, and very likely Kurapika would still win, even without his eyes turning red. So Kurapika wins. Bodoro vs Leorio. If you come from my last video, which I highly doubt, you already know my opinion on this. Leorio is not a regular human in the exams. He is depicted as weak in the anime, but in the manga, he opened a 880-pound door. And in the 1999 version, from what I've seen, he is Kurapika's equal at this time. And he defeated hunters. Not actual hunters, but people who hunt like small animals and stuff in one singular punch. So his punches are so strong, he could knock out a regular human. Remember, Leorio solos the verse, as fans say. So Bodoro does have the advantage when it comes to martial arts, but if Leorio just gets one good punch, he would win. So the win goes to Leorio. Damn, people make fun of Paco, but be forgetting about the one guy that actually died in the hunter exams. Paco vs Killua. Killua would destroy dude in a heartbeat, but in the canon thing, he actually let him go mainly because he wanted to have fun in a match. So he would probably still let him go. But let's make two timelines. Because I highly believe Killua, even in the alternative universe, would let Paco go, as unlike Danzo, he had no aspirations of becoming a hunter. He just did it for the fun of it. So how would their fight go? So right now let's cover the first timeline if Killua decided to fight him. Pretty obvious answer of who would win, and remember, Gon is weaker than Killua at this moment, and Killua is immune to poisons. So even if Paco got to hit Killua, it wouldn't affect him. So Killua would win, obviously. So Paco versus Illumi. Yeah, in the discussion, we already know who wins this one. Paco versus Bodoro. Bodoro! Bodoro is a close-range fighter as he is a martial artist, while Paco is a far-range fighter. If Bodoro tried to go too close to Paco, it would actually give Paco an advantage, as it would make it easier for him to aim. And if his arrow hit, Bodoro is an old person. Older people tend to have a weaker immune systems, so if that arrow hits him, he is done for. So in this scenario, a long-range fighter is actually superior than a close-range one. So Bodoro loses again. And to add on to that, I know it's not canon, but the 1999 version of Hunter x Hunter, Bodoro failed the first phase of a previous Hunter exam, and Paco actually failed the fourth phase in a previous Hunter exam. So this by itself should tell you who has more experience and who would win. But what if Killua gave Paco the win, like in the canon series? So Killua vs Illumi, we actually already see this fight and we know who wins. But I want to say something extremely interesting and juicy. So Killua is physically stronger than Illumi. Killua could open doors that weighed 16 tons, as he could open the third testing gate. And Gon, without him learning Nen, and before training to open a testing gate, broke Illumi's forearm in the Hunter graduation ceremony. So imagine a Illumi without Nen fighting Killua. He would get destroyed. But we live in reality, and Killua loses. There isn't much of an explanation, but not having Nen in the Hunter x Hunter world is like fighting blind. So Killua versus Bodoro. So that beats it. 2 versions of this tournament and Bodoro loses in all of them. If you liked this video, please subscribe and like and comment down below if you disagree with any of these fights, as I do reply to comments since this is a very small channel. And bye.
Bodoro sucks.